So today we are in my basement, and my basement is kind of my makeshift studio, creator space, lab space, I don't know, everything space. But this is where I do a lot of my work when I'm doing stuff from home. Um, so this channel has been primarily photo tutorials. I was a product photographer for numerous years, and then eventually I was working at B&H Photo out in New York, the photo retailer, working on their video team for a long time. Then I was running the video team, and now I work at a company called Micro Center. And I do pretty much the same kind of thing. Run the video team. We do a lot of video content on all kinds of things. And this is my personal channel where I kind of do whatever the hell I want. So welcome. Today, I am going to start painting this 3D printed Space Marine from StarCraft. So this has been my latest obsession. I have two 3D printers right over here, and I have an A1 Mini and an A1. Both of them are the combos, so they come with the AMS for multicolor. But I've really gotten into 3D printing figurines and kind of learning how to paint them. That being said, I've only done, I don't know, maybe 10 or so. I have a box over here somewhere. The first one I ever did was actually this Doom Slayer from Doom Eternal, which I did for a video at Micro Center, and this was my first time ever trying this. And I have to say I'm really proud of this one, even though, truth be told, he's real rough around the edges. Let's see if we can get the focus here. Maybe if I take my eye out. Ooh. Ooh, the eye autofocus on this FX3 is just like locked onto me. Maybe I'll get it with this camera. Well, either way, this one's real rough around the edges. I used way too much paint as I kind of came to learn, but I still really like him a lot. Either way, I've been practicing. I've been doing a bunch of other figurines. So the one that I'm really most proud of is this one right here, and this is going to be from Fallout New Vegas, and I have a bunch of Fallout New Vegas ones that I've been doing, and I'm extra proud of this one because I think this one actually came out really nice. I got the leather texture pretty okay. Again, I'm still learning. I'm still figuring out everything, but my main takeaway here is that I just want to focus on sort of the start to finish process. I want to focus on getting the files, 3D printing those files, and getting them in a decent enough quality where they're ready to paint. Focusing on the 3D print alone can take up a lot of time, and getting that perfected. And then focusing on the paint can also take a lot of time. So really, I'm just forcing myself to go through it start to finish, and then just learning along the way. And I think I've been learning a lot. First of all, the Doomslayer one, I did that on the A1 Mini with a 0.2 nozzle. Did it all in one solid piece, and it took, I don't know, like 26 hours to print. It was something ridiculous. Now, what I've come to learn is that I can do this on a 0.4 nozzle with a lower layer height, and it still looks pretty decent. I mean, there's definitely some layer lines on this guy. I don't really have a good close-up shot of this, maybe here on this little extra camera of mine, but there's definitely very visible layer lines. And this is FDM printing. It's not resin printing. I don't have a resin printer. I don't know how to resin print. That's going to be the next rabbit hole for me to go down. But right out of the box with a 0.4 nozzle, with a lower layer height, slow down the speed, it prints pretty damn good. And this is all one solid piece. The arm is a separate piece, so I'll glue these together when I'm done. But I don't know. The whole point of this rant is to sort of talk about my experience doing all of this. And my channel is really going to be focused on all kinds of things. And it's really whatever holds my interest at any given moment. So sometimes it'll be photo stuff. Sometimes it'll be 3D printing stuff. Sometimes it'll just, I don't know, random gaming stuff. I do all kinds of crap that I really enjoy. And this is just my space to share that journey. So I have some metallic paints that I'm going to use for the Space Marine. I have a blue metallic. I think that's my dehumidifier. I am in a basement. I have some metallic paints that I'm going to use, and so I'm going to do blue on the chassis. I did a black primer coat on this, and this has just been sitting for a couple of days because I haven't had the time. But I'm going to do blue with some kind of darker metal and then a lighter metal on some of the details. The Zerg, I'm going to paint brown, maybe kind of a gray stone for the base. Although this might be a creep texture. I don't know if you ever played StarCraft, but I think this is a creep texture. So if that's the case, I might go purple-ish, and then maybe some blood stains for the Zerg. And I think Zerg blood was like green. I don't really remember. But either way, I've never done Warhammer stuff. Frankly, I don't know much about Warhammer, but I know that those figurines are pricey. So each one of these, I mean, they're anywhere from like 50 to 100 grams of filament at the most. Roll of filament is 1,000 grams. So if you figure I'm getting 20 figurines per roll, and since I work at Micro Center, I get employee discount anyway, so that means I'm getting a really good price on these figurines. I love that employee discount. But the point being is that I can print a lot of these and really just burn my way in plastic and just sort of learn as I go. Because I feel like if I spent weeks or months honing just the 3D printing aspect, yeah, sure, maybe I'll get a perfect print at the end of it, but then I'm not going to know what to do with it after that. And I would hate to ruin a perfect 3D print if I'm not good at painting. So I figure, let me just take janky prints, do some janky paint. And these are dirt cheap paints. Like, I got these at Target. These are like $1 each. The blue was $2 at Hobby Lobby. These are just random acrylic paints I've been buying. I'm going to be honest, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just learning as I go. But I find that if I record myself doing this stuff, I hold myself accountable in doing it, and I make myself make time to do it. And by posting it, people sometimes engage and tell me everything I'm doing wrong. And then I read those comments and I internalize them, agonize over them, but then I learn a lot. And then I feel like I jump forward. So why not? I'm going to put myself out there and just be some guy who does this stuff terribly. But then feel free to correct me, because then I'll get it right eventually. One day. And if it's noisy, I have a fan on, there's a dehumidifier. I'll figure out the mic situation later. I just set everything up kind of just dry and just went right for it. Again, if I spend time trying to perfect everything, trying to perfect the look of my basement, I just threw some lights on. I don't normally live like this. But if I just spent time chasing perfection, I'm not going to get anything done. Like, I don't even know if I have a good shot of this right now. Kind of, not really. We're going to like a little white panel here. So this metallic blue looks pretty decent, and I would say that this is a dry brush technique, but I think my brush is still more wet than it should be. I have just been watching a lot of videos out there, and I have just been sort of taking in everything possible, because for me, you know, I do a lot of PC builds at work. I do a lot of other content on just tech stuff, and I feel like I've been mastering PC builds. I want to take it to the next level. I want to start doing some hard tube, some custom builds, some custom chassis, things that I can paint. So I've been forcing myself to learn how to airbrush, and forcing myself to learn how to do all of these other things, with the end goal being that I can just do cooler projects and bigger projects, right? Because if I'm just doing PC builds and it's just, here's another AIO with another regular build and another Leanne Lee case, it's going to get boring really fast. So how do I differentiate? How do I learn? How do I push myself? And I feel like learning this kind of stuff, I mean, first of all, it's very calming. I really enjoy this a lot. Yeah, my brush is way too wet, but I'm just going to live with it. I don't really mind. I mean, again, this is not going to be a perfect I'm thinking I'm just going to do a bunch of blue all over, and then I'll actually dry brush in the chromy metal details. And then I'm going to do some weather chipped stuff, maybe a little rust. When it comes to StarCraft, the blue is my favorite color. I like the blue teams, always blue. So this is very satisfying for 9-year-old Jordan, who's always going to be a big StarCraft 1 fan. I don't remember what I was talking about before, but whatever. These are rambly little videos. But like I said, if I don't force myself to sort of record myself to sort of do these things, then I'll just get lazy and just keep saying I'll do it and just never do it. So this is my way of holding myself accountable. And I'm just going to share that journey and just keep it kind of raw. Keep it kind of, I don't know. This is what it is. This is my space, my own personal space to do these things. Yeah. Oh, I'm getting blue metal on the Zerg. Uh-oh. Well, I've definitely seen enough Bob Ross videos to know that these happy little mistakes will just be okay. I'll just paint over that anyway. Like, I bought an airbrush. Sort of know how to do it. I think I'm okay at it. Really, I'm just using it for primer coats on these because it's just the quickest and easiest way of doing it. I was doing it outside with some spray paint, which it's the middle of summer right now. I don't want to do that. I don't feel like dealing with all that. So anyway. Now, the habit I've been in has been printing reference images. So for instance, when I did the Fallout New Vegas guy, I printed out a reference image, so I kind of knew what to paint. I have a very short-term memory. I have a reference image here of a Space Marine, and it really is just blue all over. A lot of just chromy, metally details, chipped paint. The gun will be gunmetal with some details. Yeah, I guess I don't have to feel too bad about just going a little nutso with the blue. Because I can just dry brush in those highlights, right? I was watching some videos on glazing. I definitely want to figure that out because I feel like this dome would look better if I knew how to glaze. But I will say my methodology for this, I'm coming at this from a different place because I've been reading all the Warhammer subs, all the printed mini subs, all these other subs, right? And so, first of all, a lot of talented people out there, super talented, way more than me. It's going to take me the next 2-3 years just to even sort of catch up to people out there. So, a lot of really talented people. But what they're doing is they are painting in the highlights, they're painting in the lighting effects, they're painting everything, right, to make it this scene that they've created. You know, so for instance, I saw one just this morning. This guy had I don't even know what it was. It was kind of a Thor type hammer or something. And this dude took some like copper wire that he stripped down and then put on the hammer to be like these like lightning artifacts that he painted like this lightning white, like hot white, and there's lava. And then he puts glow on the figurine to like give the impression of the lava glow from the light and like all of this stuff, which is super rad, super impressive, super fucking talented. That's not really the direction I'm trying to go. I'm actually trying to paint these to look like, I'm going to call it normal. So that means they're going to end up being somewhat flatter. I'm still going to do some highlights and some weathering and some shading. You know, I did a whole black primer on this because if I just do this in lightly enough, it kind of still has the shading and the cracks and crevices, and maybe I'll still have to black wash some paint in there later, but whatever. The point being is that, you know, I painted it black. I want to keep that shading detail. I want to keep some level of a painted sort of like gradient, right? But I'm not going to go crazy and paint in like full-on highlights, full-on lighting effects, because I plan on doing all of that in camera. Because again, I was a product photographer for numerous years. I know how to do that. I have all the lighting equipment. I have gels. I have RGB lights, panels. I have all kinds of BS that I can use at my disposal where I can just do all of those things and do them in camera. Because my goal is I kind of want to build these little dioramas, but I want to light them for real and use real lighting to simulate the scene. So I'm not painting in those things. And that's my way of also casually kind of taking it easy on myself with this process. I'm not trying to be a better painter than everyone else. You know, I'm trying to be a decent enough painter that I can make this look like a real figurine, and then I can use a lot of lighting and camera tricks to really finish the deal. You know, something like this, I can have, you know, this light panel isn't what I would use, but I can have like a real nice kind of ominous glow, you know, kind of make it look dark and moody, get myself like a nice backdrop that I can make for the scene, you know, do some Photoshop work to like touch it up, just to really like, you know, sell it. I'm not trying to win painted minifig contests. Yeah, that's not me. You know, that's a whole different rabbit hole. What I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to utilize my 3D printer to create some creative scenes from IPs that I really enjoy. And so all the lighting effects, all the highlights, specular highlights, I, I'm just going to paint this with real reflective paint like what I'm doing now. This is a metallic blue because I want it to be reflective because I'm going to do the specular highlights in camera. I'm not going to paint those on, right? Maybe the dirtying it up and the blackwashing for the shading detail and stuff, sure. But if you light it right, it's going to have its own shading. I'm going to start his arm here a little bit. Like it'll have the shading that I want under his arms or under whatever. I'll utilize some colored light for muzzle flashes or lava or for, I don't know, whatever else, right? Whatever else kind of stuff is going to come up with this. I got to figure out a better way to shoot this process. And that was another thing too, because I was really kind of agonizing, like, how do I shoot this? Do I put a camera here, up here, over top, down low? You know, should I do 3 cameras? I have another Sony camera over there. I have another camera in my box. If I spend all this time trying to perfect this, I feel like I'm just not doing the work. And I would rather just do the work, film it as I go, and if it comes out rough, just like these prints, oh well. At least I can look at it, analyze it, and take what I need for the next iteration to get better. So hopefully, if you're watching this now, and then you watch this again maybe in a year or two from a different video, maybe I've actually gotten better. And if I haven't gotten better, that's a damn shame. So you should always try to get better. Like I said, this is very therapeutic, especially just talking to myself out loud by myself in my basement to the 5 people who will probably actually watch this. But this channel is a space where I want to do some other stuff. I did a live stream of sort of a photo process. And I want to do more videos like that, photographing rings, photographing, you know, shiny objects. That's always something kind of fun to me. Macro photography. I mean, look at this. I bought, where is it? I got a box of bugs that I bought. Look at these bugs. You can get them on Etsy for like 20 bucks. They're dead bugs that I've just been sitting on. I bought a new macro lens that I was testing out. It was on sale at B&H. It was like 50 bucks or something for like this 24 millimeter like super macro. Tried it out a couple times. I got one decent focus stack and then I just haven't had time to pick it up, but I wanted to do a whole video on that. Just didn't have time. I have some rings here somewhere, some like costume jewelry rings for like demos of like ring photography, because that's something that I did a lot with this channel in the beginning. That's kind of where my following came from. I have a small following. I have like 12,000 followers for one video I did like 8 years ago. So this hard pivot into my randomness is probably going to fail, but whatever. I already do this stuff for my day job. This is for me. This is for me to look back on in 20 years and think, oh, that's cool. I actually made myself do something and held myself to it. But if you're here to join me in that journey, thanks for hanging out. I feel like I've got a decent coat. It's not done. This is far from done, but I feel like I've got a decent coat on the reference image. I mean, it's a very deep, rich coat of blue. It's a very, very deep, rich coat with a lot of chipping, a lot of like weather damage. And then they have a full-on gold helmet or a gold mask on their helmet. I think I have gold. So this is like a lot of that shading is coming through, and the layer lines are kind of coming through too still, but you know, whatever. But I found that like if I just do this lightly and I just do this in several layers, it'll start to just really kind of come in, and that saturation I'm looking for will also come in. But I'm hoping to do this in a way where, you know, I was reading this one thread. People were saying that paint washing or black washing is kind of a crutch in miniature painting. So I'm challenging myself to not have to do it. And I feel like if I loosely do this half-assed dry brush technique, it should keep a lot of the shading that I have in mind for everything. But I want, so the body itself and these army pieces, maybe this should be blue, I think. These little vents. Well, the body inside, I think, is black, and then like chromey details on the pipes and the hydraulics that help them move. I remember on that StarCraft 2 trailer video with Titus, how they kind of show all the pieces of this sort of up close. I'm going to say StarCraft 2 kind of sucks. I'm just going to say it. As someone who's a fan of StarCraft, I don't know. I hate the art style. It's too cartoony. Something about the original StarCraft and it's like real-ish sci-fi cosmic horror vibe just sort of works. And then it was just, they made it cartoony like Warcraft, which was just not. I tolerate Warcraft. It's fine. I played World of Warcraft for many years on and off, mostly because all my buddies played, so at least it's just a way for me to play with them. I don't really love Warcraft at all. I think it's silly. StarCraft, on the other hand, that was always my jam, but let's be real. RTSs are just dead as a genre. MOBAs, I just don't really care for. I played Dota back when it was, you know, a map on Warcraft 3 or whatever that was. I don't know. My buddy made me play that forever ago. I mean, even then, I was just kind of like, bleh. Because like the heroes in Warcraft 3, I also kind of just didn't care. I don't care. I like the base building, and I like just some of the other strategy aspects of it. And I think I like the Terran the most, like the Space Marine, because I feel like their defensive strategy for bases was just always my favorite. I loved making the bunkers. I loved making, oh, actually, you know, this is a good hard pivot for me. Hold on, let me get my box. I don't even have a cup for water for this. I really like the Terran buildings. So this was a learning exercise for me. This is a Terran barracks that I printed. Did this on the 0.2 nozzle on the A1 Mini. Printed this for like forever. So my buddy who has been kind of teaching me like 3D printing stuff, because I'm not a 3D printing master. I know enough to like do things, but I'm not like a master. But he was the one that telling me like, oh, you know, when I'm painting my prints, I use this automotive filler primer. And that's what I use to sort of like seal everything and get rid of the layer lines. And then I put a primer and then I like start painting. And I was like, okay. So that's what I did with this one. And I've learned that for miniatures, that's a mistake. Like that is full on a mistake because this is ugly. I lost all the detail. I used way too much paint. I ruined this print. In the same way that I can argue I ruined this Doomslayer. I did a bad job. Ruined. So I made a new one, 0.4 layer, or 0.4 nozzle, like a 0.16 layer height, printed a lot faster, just as detailed as the 0.2. I really thought that I had to do 0.2 for everything, but at least I'm finding a 0.4 does a good enough job for what I want. If I wanted better detail, I think the 0.2 really is better, because some of these spots, like the layer lines, are real bad, and I didn't get that on this one. But I mean, really, resin printing is going to be the final, piece for quality. Like, resin printing really is going to be far and away way better, and I'm just not there yet. So this one came out really good. I literally just did an airbrush with a very light primer coat of just black acrylic. That was my primer. That's not even probably how you're supposed to do it, I think, but that's what I did. And then I started just airbrushing in the shiny metal, and I started doing some rust. I'm not done with this. I just kind of got distracted with other things, so I'm going to come back to this one. But this one came out 10 times better. I was doing the same process for this Terran factory. Same thing, 0.4 nozzle, 0.16 layer height. Super quick print time. These files have the feet separate. This one I did the feet all together, which I think is a mistake because the feet break off very easily. So making them a separate print from the whole body and gluing them together, I think is the right way to go. Additional supply depots required. That's not the voice for the Terran, but supply depots. Those is cool. And then my favorite building, which I also ruined, the Terran bunker. I ruined this. It's ruined. Same thing. Automotive filler primer with a white primer. Sprayed it outside. Let it dry. Put way too much acrylic on it because I really thought I just had to cover it in acrylic paint with a brush, and it came out terrible. This looks so bad. So this is the new one I did. Way sharper. Way sharper, way better. Visible layer lines. I mean, I have some wood filler. I have some other filler. I can do it. I can sand it. I have sandpaper. I don't care enough. If I'm going to focus on process, I really just want to go start to finish and then modify along the way. I don't want to spend weeks perfecting sanding and filling. I don't want to spend months perfecting painting. I don't want to spend months perfecting each step in a bubble. I want to do them holistically, start to finish. That's just the way that I like to learn. I'm not saying that that's the right way to do it. You do it however you feel like. I'm just saying that's how I like to do it, because I feel like it forces me to keep trying, because if I can get start to finish, at least in my brain, I feel like I register that I did something successfully, even if I did it wrong, and even if the end result is bad. And then I have something I can analyze and then just do it all over again. So that's actually why I have multiple of the same exact prints over there, because I'm going to try different things with those. Just different techniques. I really like this one. This is the Automatron from... No, that's not the one. It's Securitron. There we go. It's a Securitron from Fallout New Vegas. Printed out the Yes Man face. Gonna glue it on there, or paint it on there, or something. I mean, I printed this little, like, cowboy guy. These were all dry brushed-ish. You know, got myself a little Fallout power armor. And then my favorite is this Deathclaw, which I started airbrushing. I kind of like the way this one came out. I'm not done. I'm not done with this at all. So a lot of these are like in varying states of not finished. Here's Veronica. She's the little companion in New Vegas. I never did her face. I don't know how to do faces. I'm going to ruin her face, so I'm going to print extra of these just to practice. These cost me, I don't know, $1. Factor in the wattage for the printer and the print time and everything else, a couple bucks per. Plus, I'm using cheap paints. I'm using cheap stuff because I'm learning. Why am I going to... I bought some of the Vallejo paints. I bought a bunch of these. They're okay. I really just like these cheap acrylics just because I don't feel as bad about wasting it. Because when I wasted some of that Vallejo on something the other day, I was just like, oh my God, this is supposed to be the good paint. Why am I wasting this? But this $2 Hobby Lobby blue metallic acrylic, yeah, I don't care. I'll just make another one of these. I'll just give these away to friends. I already gave a couple away to friends. They know that they're just works in progress, but, you know, they make fun little gifts to give away. I'm liking the way this is coming out so far. I'm not going to be able to finish this today. I mean, I think I'm just going to get the blue on because my son is taking a nap. And if anyone else is in their 30s and has kids and knows what it's like to have hobbies and kids, you do what you can when you can and pick it back up whenever you can again. So this might be as far as I get in this one. But I think he's looking pretty cool. And this is the right blue. I'm glad I found this blue because this is definitely the right blue for this. Because when you see it fully glopped on my brush, like it's the right hue, it's the right saturation for that like StarCraft metal blue. So when I get this right, I think it's going to look neat as hell. And I want it to be metallic. I want it to be reflective. I'm going to do all the highlights in camera. So if you've made it this far along, first of all, I want to say thank you. And I just want to say expect more content like this when I get chances to make it. Follow me on the Micro Center YouTube channel. That's my main channel where I work. We do a lot of content there. This is more of my content after dark channel, my personal junk channel, where I'm just going to do a lot of nonsense and let my ADHD flourish. So it's going to be all over the place. This is coming out pretty nice. Do I got a decent shot of this? Yeah, I do. Actually, yeah, this looks pretty good on camera. By the way, the Osmo Pocket 3 is like the best camera ever as a B cam. FX3 is what I'm using for the main camera, which is probably overkill for this type of video, but FX3, absolutely probably one of my favorite cameras of all time. And I own a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, and I love my FX3 way more, but this Osmo Pocket 3 is a close second. I love this camera almost more than I love my FX3, only because of the simplicity and quality paired together. It's such an amazing combo. And this is like a junky half-inch brush I got from like Blick that I am definitely ruining. That's another thing. I bought all cheap tools. Checking my phone. Okay, cool. Got a little bit of time. I bought all cheap tools because I have been a photographer and a videographer going on, oh, geez, 18 years now. I've been doing this a while. I have done all kinds of stuff. I've worked on music videos. I've worked on some small features doing grip and electric like ages ago when I lived in LA. I've been a PA. I've been a videographer. I've done weddings. I've done photography. I got into product photography because I like that I could just do that as a solo kind of like situation. I got into ring photography because I just knew people that worked in the Diamond District when I lived in New York. So that was just a gig I fell into. Video stuff has always just been second nature to me. But one thing I've learned over the years is that, you know, the tools that you use for these things, you really need to understand what it is you need. A lot of people will tell you to buy the bestest, most expensivest thing, whether it's photography, videography, or even miniature painting. I have found people are always like, don't bother with X, Y, and Z. Get the top of the line everything and drop like $2,000 on all of this stuff. Paint and an airbrush box and the best airbrush compressor. I bought a $99 airbrush combo kit from Harbor Freight, which a lot of people talk against. And they're like, oh, you're going to have to buy a better one down the line. I'm like, okay, fine. Then I'll cross that bridge when I get there. But for now, I'm just going to do this on the cheap one because that's how I've learned everything. I've learned on cheap cameras, and then eventually I get expensive cameras. I've learned on cheap lights, and then eventually I get expensive lights. This is a really cheap, junky LED light I bought 10 years ago. I still use it. Now I use it as a work light, and it's actually my key light right now. And the color cast sucks, but you know what? When it's reflected off of my ceiling, I look pretty okay. Anyway, cheap brushes, screw it. I'm going to burn through these. I'm going to ruin them. I know I'm going to ruin them. So why am I going to buy expensive brushes? Cheap paints. I'm going to do a bad job. I know I am. I don't want to burn through the good paint. I want to save that for when I feel confident enough to do something right and then really do it right. But right now, I'm just trying to psychologically trick myself into building my own confidence in these things before I drop a ton of money. Because again, I'm keeping my costs down by 3D printing these. I'm keeping my costs down by getting the cheaper paints and brushes, and sure, flame me in the comments, but I'm happy with the quality. Except for my Doomslayer. I'm not happy with that, but I'm happy with what I'm getting today. Am I going to feel that way in a year? Probably not. But that's how I justify jumping into new hobbies. Just, in my opinion, it's more important to start than it is to start right. And I know a lot of people won't agree with that statement, but I think it's true. Because I've seen so many people over the years saying, I'm going to start doing X, Y, and Z, and they never do it. Because they're like, well, the timing's not right. I don't have the stuff I need. Everyone says I need to do X, Y, and Z. Who cares? Just start. Do it wrong. Fail. I printed all of these and started doing it with the intention of failing so that I can learn from that failure, because that's going to help me learn faster. I'm doing this video with the intention of actually failing on camera, so that way you guys can correct me in the comments. All 3 people who are watching right now who are just angrily typing away like, man, you are such an idiot for all of these reasons. Yeah, please tell me. Because then I'm going to learn and get better. Or maybe not. Who knows? I'm kind of happy with this so far. I mean, it's not done, right? Like, it's not done. There's still splotchiness. It's kind of like a shaded in blue. On this camera, it definitely looks like a more saturated, but like to the eye, it's less, full. But I'll wrap up this video for now. Thanks for joining along. I hope you had a good time, and stay tuned here at Jordan's Lab, my nonsense factory, where, I don't know, I'm going to do whatever the hell I feel like.